Perfect. Before we get started, I just want to share a little bit update on my real estate business. We had a deal under contract for about 20,000. This was a property that another wholesaler had bought with the intention of rehabbing, but she was moving out of town. Actually, yeah, moving down south to Texas, I believe. And she just wanted to get out of it. We had it in a contract for 20,000, and we had a contractor go by, give us a bid of 70. Was high, so we wanted to have a couple of other contractors go by. It had some issues with retaining walls, foundations, so we had a couple of other contractors go by with more experience on retaining walls, foundation, and we found out there was some pretty major issues, so we backed out of it, unfortunately. It's going to be like close to 85,000, so we would be all in for about 105,000, even though it was worth about 150. It just seemed like a lot of money paying 4 times on a rehab to what we were paying on the purchase. So we decided to walk away from that. But that property also came from online leads. So excited about kind of just seeing that we're getting some decent leads from our paper lead and our PPC. We just also started doing Bing ads. If you guys are doing PPC but not doing Bing ads, I highly recommend. The quantity of leads are going to be a little bit lower, but the quality of leads are going to be higher because generally the demographic tends to be a little bit older people, that have used and not as tech savvy people that have used bought like a Microsoft computer, but they haven't updated the search engine to Google. So they might still be using Bing. So if you're not doing that, it's very cheap to run those ads. You probably, if you're spending, $1,000 on Google ads, you'll probably be spending no more than 100 to 150 bucks on Bing, but totally worth it. We made some pretty good money in the past from it. We bought last year, I believe, or the year before, we bought a 3-unit and 3-property package from this couple. They were living in a different state. They wanted to just get rid of the property, but it came from Bing. Yeah, if you guys are not doing that, you just started doing that. Again, the quantity of leads is going to be lower, but the quality of lead is going to be much higher, generally everything else being equal. So I should have some more data on it. Just because of that, we actually ended up, we're in a very small market in Northwest Indiana, right outside of Chicago, in Lake County. So just because we were not getting enough leads from Bing, so the guy who's running our Bing ads suggested that, hey, would you be open to just expanding the area? So we actually expanded the area. We're getting some leads from Illinois, which we don't plan to close on. So we'll just kind of refer those leads to somebody else. They can close on them. But for Bing, because not many people use it, quality of leads are good, but you get very limited quantity of leads, but something definitely worth looking into. So that's kind of what's going on with our market. We have a couple of properties on the market right now, and we're not getting much movement on it, even though it's lower price properties. One is on the market for 99,000. It just went on the market 10 days ago. Another one we had originally put on the market for 159.9, I believe. And we did a price drop. It's been on the market for about 4 weeks, maybe. We did a price drop to 154.5. Almost had an offer. Then we did, actually, no, we didn't get much movement. We did another price drop to 149.9. Almost had an offer, but then, couldn't just agree on the terms. Now we're going to wait another week. If we still do not get any offer on the property, we're going to take it off market, and we actually are going to put a tenant in it. We'll get roughly about $1,300 to maybe $1,400 a month rent in it, and then we are gonna manage it and sell it on roof stock for about 130 to 135,000. So that's kind of our exit. So everything we're buying right now.
Group who?
Roof stock. I'm gonna put it in the chat. Roof stock. So yeah, if you go to their website, it's basically, think of it as a marketplace for selling rental properties. That's basically what it is. Think of it like an MLS, but for rental properties. And you pay about 2 to 2.5% commission to them. They will find the buyer. So essentially put the property on their website. You go through a vetting process with them. Once you've been, once they vetted you, what they would do is you would submit a property. They would actually do an inspection. If there's something major, comes through on the inspection, they might, we haven't anything come through, but I'm guessing if something major comes through, they might not list the property. But if it's a minor stuff, they'll have you kind of take care of that before you put the property on the market. And then it goes on their website, it goes to their email list and all that good stuff. And they ask for about 30 to 45 days of exclusivity period where you can only sell to them. But we have pretty much been able to sell everything to them within 30 to 45 days. So I own a property management company also. When we initially sell the property, when we initially rent the property, it's being managed by our own property manager. But typically, for the most part, what happens is after you sell the property, it ends up going to one of their preferred property managers, which we're okay with. They've qualified buyers for these kind of properties. They like to see a lease that has not, that's not like, let's say, halfway through. So if you are, let's say, if you ended up renting a property in October, then we would want to make sure we put it on the market in October. So when a buyer is looking at it, they see there's still like 10 to 11 months of lease period left on that with that tenant. So some of those things help a lot. But if you guys haven't used it, I highly recommend. If you have some properties that you're selling to other investors, or your exit could be either a retail flip. If that doesn't work out, then you could do turnkey properties. Like to this point, at this point for our exit, if you're going to put something on the market, we're only doing like 30 to 45 day listing agreement. If it doesn't sell within that 30 to 45 day period, then we just put it on the market. So we're not waiting for like 3-4 months to see what's going to happen. Just 30 to 45 days. If you feel like, hey, this is not going to move, and then depending on how much we would sell it on the MLS for versus how much we would sell it on the Roofstock for, what would our net number be from each transaction? We decide if it's worth just letting it sit on MLS for a little bit longer, or take it off MLS and sell it on Roofstock, and then we rent it out and put it on Roofstock at that point. So we've had pretty good experience so far selling on Roofstock. I don't think any property that we've put on their platform has gone past even 30-day period of not selling. So yeah, if you guys are not if you guys are in the market where you could sell some turnkey properties, highly recommend checking them out to offload some of the properties that you have. You are going to have to rent the properties out, but you could always partner up with the local property manager. You finish the property, give it to a local property manager, and then just put it on Roofstock. But we own our own property management company, so we just rent it in-house and then put it on Roofstock. So any questions on that? Any thoughts on that? Any of you guys doing something similar in your market? I would be curious to hear that. Let me see.
So you're saying it got to be leased for 6 months at least, Shira?
No, I'm saying, there's no minimum period that it's going to be leased for, but the longer time period that's left on the lease, the better it is. So let's say if you, let's just say, you rent a property at the beginning of the year, like let's say you rent a property Jan 1st to a tenant, and then you're trying to sell it now in September, and there's only 3 months left on the lease, it's not going to look as favorable to the buyer buying it versus if you just rented the property in September and the buyer is looking at it now, it's going to show that there's still 11 months left on the lease. So, assuming this is a 1 month lease. So you don't want to do any month-to-month lease. You want to do at least 1 year lease if you're going to sell on Roofstock. And you want to make sure as soon as you have that property rented out, you want to time your lease beginning period with the time when you're going to put it on the market. Or, if you can get a longer term lease, like 18 months or 24 months, that's going to be even better. But in our market, it's a pretty standard 1 year lease that we get with security deposit, stuff like that. And we haven't had any issues selling property. So now our exit is basically 30 to 45 days listing period on MLS. If it doesn't sell, we take it off and then rent it out and put it on roofstock.com. So.
And they almost give you retail for it, or close to retail?
Close to retail. Once you factor in, if you're going to put it on the market on MLS, you got to pay about 5% commission on it. The retail buyers are going to be a little bit more picky. And in our market, at that price point, we're giving them about, roughly about $2,000 to $3,000, sometimes $4,000 in buyer credit. So
Me
once
too.
you factor that all in, if you have a property that you're selling for 145 with those terms versus a property that you're selling for 130 and the transaction period is going to be smaller, it's going to be shorter transaction period, then it might just make sense to sell the property now for 130,000 and pay like 2% commission on it versus, put it on the market and then you're selling it for 145, but it's going to take about, 3, 4, 5 months to close that transaction. So, you have to factor those numbers in, but you get pretty close to retail. I mean, it depends on your market, like the price point where we are at. We're able to get almost better numbers on Roofstock than MLS, but we're testing it out on MLS just if for no other reason to help our comps later on. As we buy and sell more stuff in the market, we want to make sure there's some good comps. If you sell something on Roofstock, it doesn't go on MLS, so you don't have any comps for any future transactions. So our first exit goal always is MLS. If we can do that and then get really good comps for future properties that we might be selling.
So suppose you buy a property that already look, probably almost B to A condition and already has a tenant. You could put that on Roofstock as well, or you
could, yes, but you gotta own the property first.
Okay, all right,
yeah,
all right. Gotcha.
Yeah. So Dina, it's roofstock.com. Roofstock. This is the property. This is the website. So if you go there, and this is another good idea, if you guys are not doing that, even if you're not selling some stuff on Roofstock, this might be a good idea. Just kind of go and, like pretend if you were a buyer in this market. So here, I'm going to put my market up, Indiana, not Indianapolis. So this is like a property in our neighborhood, like Hammond. So this gives us a really good idea, if you're buying something, how much something like this we would be able to sell for. So this is like another way to comp your turnkey property stuff. If I have a 3-bedroom, 1-bath, you can click on it. I think it gives you the rental amount, how much it's rented for. You can see all those numbers. So they have their own calculator, but you can see like expected rent and all that good stuff. So it's driven mostly based on the rent. So higher you can rent the property for, the more you can get for the property. So like, for example, we have a property in this market, in this neighborhood that we are going to be putting on the market. We actually, my project manager just texted me this morning that she has some good news. Actually last night, she has some good news. First thing, she was able to actually get city approval on making it 3-unit. And there was another comp that sold within quarter mile for 270, 280,000. We had originally bought the property 100,000 with the idea of putting 50 into it, and the exit was going to be at 225. But now that we have a legal 3-unit property and also with a higher comp, if I look at this, based on like this, it tells me, hey, I could sell my property for like about 250. So, this is a good way to just kind of get a little bit of sense of what the turnkey property market is like. So you can go in, you can just kind of, try a few different things. You can click on price reduce, so you can see, which properties are having a price reduction, what neighborhoods they're in. So if I see there's nothing in my market that shows something with a price on, like there's a property in Chicago, Ann Arbor, Kansas City, Missouri. So this is like a good way to, for us, we do a lot of turnkey properties. This is a good way for us to get a sense of kind of where the market is right now, what neighborhoods are selling, what's not selling, outside of our local retail market. This is people buying properties here from nationwide. These are a high net worth individual looking to buy, invest their money in some turnkey properties. So it kind of gives a sense of, what neighborhoods are property selling fast. So if I look at, there's a whole bunch of properties in Michigan, there's one in Mississippi, another Michigan, there's one in Indiana. So for example, if you were buying a property, we kind of keep an eye on Roofstock. If we're not a little bit sure about the property, we have a rep at Roofstock we reach out to and say, hey, what do you think this property we could sell for? They would give us a rough number. But based on this, you could kind of get a sense of, what other properties in the neighborhood are selling for on Roof. So it's another way to comp your property, in addition to MLS. But this doesn't get counted against your MLS comps. It's something different, but they've successfully been able to sell like dozens of properties here. Any questions on this? Cool. Awesome. Anything else you guys are noticing? We're definitely noticing a slowdown in our market. Could be beginning of the school year. We're noticing other other finished properties are getting price drops. They're staying at the market a little bit longer. Properties are still moving, but it's a little bit slower market right now. I think it's just everybody's trying to get a sense of kind of the where the market is. There's supposed to be another, rate hike coming in next day or two. So who knows? I mean, it's not sure which way it's going to go, but the interest rate is, for a lot of people, it's over 6%. So that's the stuff you got to keep in mind. Like my brother, he's looking to buy a house for himself in Naperville, Illinois, and like he was telling me how, his budget is being affected by how high the interest rate was when he bought his first property. A few years ago, I think he paid under 4%. Now he's paying over 6% or slightly below 6%. It makes a huge difference on like how much you can afford to pay for a house. So we're definitely noticing a slowdown in our market. But for the last few months, we've just been focused a lot on properties that have 2 or 3 different exits, MLS, turnkey, or worst case, a rental property for myself. And so far, we've been pretty lucky with that. So, and in terms of marketing, what's working well for us right now is like online leads, paper lead, PPC. We just started doing Bing, and we're trying to see some more lead flow come in, have some decent appointments. We're making an offer on a property today. Hopefully we should get it under contract, and with the intention of straight selling it on Roofstock. I talked to my agent, and she suggested that it would be a better property for Roofstock than MLS property. So hopefully we get it under contract and it passes our inspection. But that's kind of what's going on in our market right now. Anything you guys are noticing, any slowdown, or it's kind of same as it was a few months ago for you, or starting to slow down a little bit? I'm just curious kind of what you guys are noticing.
I'm seeing a lot slowdown here in Arkansas. Was selling to quite a few hedge funds and big buyers that would buy 15, 20 properties
Right.
a month, and they've really pulled back on their on being aggressive. So where they
Right.
might be paying 80 cents on the dollar minus repairs, now they're more like 70 cents, 65 cents.
Right.
So it's been really challenging trying to find regular landlords that might could buy 6 or 8, 10 a year versus
Right.
people that could just have an unlimited checkbook. So that's been kind of what I've been seeing. My leads have been going down quite a bit. My PPC I'm spending around $6,500. I'm in Arkansas, so it's not DFW numbers or anything, but $6,500 a month. And last 2 months I haven't pulled down any PPC deals where I used to do about a deal and a half, 2 deals a month. So I'm considering shopping for a new consultant or someone to help set mine up.
So you're spending $6,500 a month?
Yeah, I think my consultant fee was like $750, $1,000, and then about $6,000 in ad spend.
Got it. Okay, we're using wholesaling PPCs who we use. We've been pretty happy with that, but like for us, the challenge has always been we're in such a small market that we've actually never been able to, we want to spend like $3,000 a month on PPC, but we're in a small market. Just we can't seem to reach, targeted ad spend just because of the small market we're in, unless we just start using like keywords that are not relevant to us. So we're just kind of using whatever keywords are relevant to us and getting decent quality leads from that. But here is the company that we are using.
Sharad, are you just targeting your local area with the PPC stuff?
Yeah, just our local area. We don't do anything outside of our local area. So this is the company that we use, wholesaling PPC. It's been working really well for us so far.
Okay, I'll check it out.
I'll put the link in the chat.
Rod, you're just using the own carrot site with them?
Yeah, we are doing like a standard carrot site, but we are rolling out our own website next month. So we're of course going to switch over to our own website in REsimpli, but we're using carrot website for now.
Because I have a professional website that I use for SEO. My current PPC guy likes to be able to track, certain leads. So he just created a landing page that has nothing to do with my professional site. I've been doing it about 2 years, and honestly, I've had a lot of really good success with him. But the last quarter and a half, it's really declined pretty rapidly. I don't know if Google's made some changes and they're not, able to kind of catch on again, or what, or competition, or both. But with this wholesaling PPC, what do you think? Like your off the top of your head, just your fee per month is with them?
We're paying about $7.99 to them, but we've been with them for over a year, so they might have bumped up the fee.
Sure.
But to be honest, it's not like super complicated. So we use a different agency to run ads for REsimpli.
Okay.
It's more important, just like with anything else. I think the most important thing is to review the data on a weekly basis. So let's say if you're spending $6,500 a month, or even $6,000 a month, it's a pretty high number. You're in Arkansas market, you said, right?
Yes, sir. Right.
Yeah. So it's not like you're in these super high-end markets like New York or California, where I'm assuming you're not doing like 7-figure properties, right? I could be wrong on that.
I'd say my average houses are 150.
Okay. Yeah. So pretty similar to us. So I think the most important thing is to look at the keywords that you're spending your money on, and like look at, you can easily ask them for a report, like, hey, send me for last 2 or 3 months. And you can ask them since the beginning of the year. If you've been using the same agency, ask them, hey, since the beginning of the year, send me a list of keywords. They can send you like Google Data Studio, and then you can filter it on your own by different time periods, and you can see which keywords were performing. So like what we do is we go in, we review our data on a weekly basis, both for Max House by our real estate website and our REsimpli stuff. So we go in, we'll look at our number on a weekly basis, and we'll say, okay, we spent, for example, $500 targeting this keyword. We didn't get anything, and let's just cut this out, right? So we want to be able to make those decisions based on the numbers. So that's what we're doing in our business. We're going in, spending money. We might target some new keywords and see, hey, let's just see if this keyword is going to work based on kind of what's going on. It could be, how to get out of my high interest rate. For example, something like this. Again, there's not going to be high volume, but it might be worth testing that out and, say, hey, I'm going to spend $500, this month on this keyword and see what sort of conversions I get. And then you can track that, how many leads you're getting, how much conversion you're getting. If you are, for example, if, there's certain things that you can do negative keywords. So for example, if you're targeting keywords like somebody that's putting in their search, for example, Remax, Macaulay, Berkshire Hathaway, these are all, real estate brokers, like those keywords almost never are going to convert for you. So you want to make sure if you're spending money on that, then you want to like just stop advertising on those. So I would start out with reviewing the keyword. $6,000 is a lot of money for Arkansas markets. I would start out with that, review your numbers, and see which keywords are working and which ones are not. When we do that on a weekly basis, we're like optimizing it on a weekly basis. Most of it REsimpli, for our Max Out, it's already very targeted keyword list. We're not getting like crappy leads anyway. Like for REsimpli, we go in every single week. Our PPC agency would send us a report. We look at it. We say, hey, these keywords, how many clicks we got? How many of those like did the next step? And then if we notice we spend like $500 on a keyword, we got a whole bunch of people on the website, but nobody actually went to the second step, then there's no point spending any more money on it. So we cut that. Literally I'll give you an example. Like we started out for REsimpli, we started out spending like $3,000 a month on PPC. Now we're only spending $500 and we haven't lost any conversion because we looked at our numbers, when we said $3,000, now we're at 500, but we just got it at $2,500 for the keywords that were not giving us any basically not making us any money. And you want to do that with your real estate leads also.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And Sarah over here says she's also from Arkansas market. So you might want to just connect with her and see, if she has any information on that.
Sure. Yeah, I'll reach out to Sarah in the chat. Thank you.
Cool. All right. And Courtney said definitely has adjusted in Baltimore, noticing flippers trying to get out of unfinished inventory. Yeah, so we're noticing that also, like some, investors who had bought a property when the market just going up and up, now it's not doing so much. You don't have that numbers going up just because you're not making money just because the home values were going up. All of a sudden, you got to buy right, you got to make sure you rehab it right, and you price it right. So we're starting to notice some of those people that have started the rehab, but then they want to get out of it. Like even this house, even though we got it under contract for 20, we would have to spend 80,000 if everything went well. So we decided not to do that. So yeah, we're noticing a little bit slowdown in your market. Rob, did you have something?
Yeah, sorry, I kind of joined late. Maybe you guys already covered the in-app answering, but I got a question about that. I'm going to be out of the country for about a couple of months, and I'll need to, stay consistent with my lead follow-ups. Is the in-app answering able to solve that to where I can basically just connect from Wi-Fi and either use the mobile app or the desktop anywhere in the world?
Yeah, no, we have a team overseas that have tested it. So yeah, no issues. I mean, you want to make sure you have good Wi-Fi connection.
Right.
So as long as you have good Wi-Fi connection or data connection, it's going to work fine. So we've done testing.
Is there a way to test that before? Is there a way to kind of maybe test I guess not internet connection, but maybe audio of the voice and the calls, or is that something that I'm just going to have to play with?
You could test it if you want to connect. If you want to send us an email at support at REsimpli. So our support team is based in Philippines. They can they can log in. You can call them and they can pick up from in-app answering. They can pick it up on web. They can pick it up on app, and and they can connect it on Wi-Fi. They can get off Wi-Fi, so you can kind of see the difference in calls. So when we do our testing, we're doing it on Wi-Fi. We're doing it on local network. We're doing it when you connect it to Bluetooth, when you're not connected to Bluetooth, and then you can have your team do that also. Depending on which country you're going to, I mean, I don't know, you could, if you have some friends or family, you could just have them download the app, call the number, and see how it sounds on their end. So that's another thing you could do.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Cool, awesome. All right, guys. Any other questions or any other thoughts? All right, Sarah, Gary shared his email. So yeah, go ahead.
Hey, sure. This is Jeremy. I was just going to add to what you were speaking of. I think on my side, what we're seeing, we're in I call it like that gray area. So for us, what we're doing, and I'll probably dive more into what we're doing tomorrow when we do the like the little call I think I threw out there just to kind of collaborate more with Mastermind. But what I'm seeing, so for me, I'm having to home in more specifically on a lot of the motivated lists. So focusing more on code violations, right? Divorce lists, the pre-foreclosures is like, I'm really putting more energy towards pre-foreclosures, just your niche list of people that really have pain points to sell. We used to run a lot of absentee out-of-state owner leads and we would get good deals from them, but I'm really trying to focus more on pain points because I don't know if you guys are still seeing this. I think the gray area now is the sellers still think that this is pre-pandemic pricing. So they're still thinking that, oh no, I can sell my house for X amount of dollars and I'm going to get an offer on it. Well, if I offered you, a house that was worth 300, if I offered you 200 last year, well, I'm not going to offer you 220 now. I'm going to probably offer you 170. You know what I mean? So the gray area is allowing the sellers, they're going to have to realize that this is no longer their market. So I think this is that gray area where, for me, I'm trying to find more motivated niche list sellers. And then hopefully I'm thinking by the top of the year, those people who've been playing hardball will realize, hey, I really need to try to go ahead and sell. And hopefully they'll come down on pricing to kind of match the energy of where we need to be with, your rates and all of that stuff. So that's what I'm kind of, that's what we're kind of looking at.
No, I think that's a great thing to do. One other thing on that point that I would say is if you guys are not doing this right now, what I would start doing is, so for example, let's say if I have this property under contract, right? This is a random property. So you might have, this might have come from an inbound lead. It might have come from your PPC, your paper lead, or whatever lead source. It might have come from your direct mail, absentee list. But once you make contact with the seller, try to get as much information as you can about their pain point. So you might have targeted them for just absentee list. But you talk to them, you find out, hey, they're actually, even though it says vacant for USPS, but USPS data is not always up to date. If they're able to deliver mail, they might not update. The mail is getting delivered, so they might not update their database for like 2 or 3 months. But what you want to start doing is you want to start adding tags, and I'll tell you the reason why it will come really handy. So let's say they're going from a bankruptcy, for example, and this property I also find out is vacant, and I also find out they're going through probate, and I find out behind on taxes, and let's say these are divorce, right? I mean, I'm just making it up. Let's say I find out all this information about this person that I did not have when the lead initially came in, or I just had information that this was an absentee list, for example. So you have all these tags that get added to the property. So what's going to start happening, we're rolling out an update in a couple of weeks here. So all of these tags, so this property, if you didn't already have it in list stacking, this property is automatically get added in list stacking. So anything a property gets added in lead, it gets added in list stacking. So what would happen with an update we have coming out in a couple of weeks is all of these tags. So if I go into this property, I don't think I have it on my account just yet, but if I go 8430, this one. So what's going to happen is all of those tags are going to start integrating between leads and list stacking. So if you have a tag, it will automatically get pushed to list stacking, and any tags on list stacking will get pushed to leads. So it's going to be two-way sync. And then once you start adding those tags, then you can go into the tags tab right here, and you can start noticing some really, really interesting stuff. You can start seeing, like, for example, this is a random tag, age 50 plus. I might notice that he had 7 leads come in from, tag of age 50 plus. I had sent direct mail to all 7 of them. I'd sent SMS to 2 of them. And then all 7 of them were leads. And I actually ended up getting 4 deals from that. So it's giving you some really, really specific information about which pain point is actually working for you. So what you could do is, let's say if you're doing a direct mail campaign or a cold calling campaign in future, you could pull your list from TopStream, and then you could get the age appended. You could go to Melissa data. They could, append owner's age information, and then you could only target. You could segment that list into 2 parts, or you can just, even if you don't want to do that, you can just upload it in REsimpli and add, you can add a tag for anybody that's over age 50. You can add a tag of age 50 plus. Anybody under 50, you can add, 50 under 50, or if you don't add a tag. Then you start noticing, then you start tracking your data, not just based on campaign. This is like the next level tracking that you're doing based on the tag. And then you can do the same thing based on the list that they're on. So you might start noticing that, your absentee list is working really well. You have spent $1,000 marketing to absentee list on direct mail. You made $7,000. That's awesome. But then you might notice that within the absentee list, it's actually people that are age 50 plus, where 80% of your leads came from the age group of this tag of age 50 plus, or it could be anything, right? It could be bankruptcy, it could be divorce, it could be probate, it could be behind on taxes, pre-foreclosure. So whatever information you have, make sure you start adding tags on them, because then you can start seeing your data based on the tags and list, and then get really, really targeted on the marketing list or the exact demographic that's working for you. So you when you're pulling a list, instead of pulling, sending mail to 1,000 people, you could now only send mail to 200 people that meets your very, very specific list of criteria that you have. So any questions on this? All right, let me get into in-app answering, then I can come back to a couple of questions that we have. All right, so there were few other questions on in-app answering that I wanted to kind of go over, and some of the other updates that are going to be rolling out tomorrow. Couple of things that are going to be rolling out tomorrow is more related to the repeat caller. So what's going to happen in the repeat caller is, if you're doing repeat caller based on the role, so you could do, let's say, my acquisition manager, and then you could choose forwarding preference of if you want to have it forwarded to a phone number that you have for your acquisition manager, or if you want to have it forwarded to in-app answering for your acquisition manager. In addition to that, you can also now set up voicemail. You will be able to set up voicemail for your repeat caller also. So you have a lead that comes in, they go through the initial call flow, might go to your answering service like Call Porter, and then they become a lead. And then when you have them calling back into the system, So up until now, we only used to have a system where it goes, you can have it forwarded to the role of acquisition manager, and it calls whatever number we have for them in their profile. And then it was going to their voicemail only. But with this option, what you will be able to do is you will be able still be able to have the phone be routed to your acquisition manager's cell phone, T-Mobile, AT&T, Verizon if you want. But then you can have an option of not be answered by their voicemail, but actually be answered by a voicemail within the system. So instead of saying, hey, this is Sharad, thank you for leaving, thank you for calling, leave me a message, it could say, hey, thank you for calling ABC Home Buyers. Sorry we missed your call. Please leave us your name, address, and phone number. We'll give you a call back. So you can make it your own custom voicemail, and you will be able to do the same thing in in-app answering. So if your call is being forwarded to in-app answering, you don't pick up, you can have it go to a voicemail, and you can do that for all of these options. So if you have phone number going to a specific or repeat caller going to a specific phone number, what you will be able to do is enable whisper message so it doesn't get answered by their personal cell phone. Same thing on the route repeat caller to previous connected number. So whether it's going to in-app answering, in this case, it'll automatically pick up. If it's going to in-app answering, then the whisper message will be not enabled. If it's going to their phone number, if it was answered by somebody's cell phone or landline or whatever number you might have, then you can have it be picked up by, if they do not answer, you can have it be picked up by a voicemail that you recorded for specifically for repeat callers. So that's an update that's going live tomorrow. We're just almost finished testing it. A couple of scenarios that we're doing testing or cleaning up, and then it should go live tomorrow. So any questions on this? I'll post it on our Facebook group. We'll also send out an email when this goes live. But any questions on this or any other part of repeat caller or in-app answering that you guys have?
Hey, Sharad, I have a question because I know we talked about it on another call. Is the function where, let's say, a lead manager is part of no contact and contact, acquisition is part of appointment set and offer set, is the update where, like, if the person calls back and that prospect is under no contact, the acquisition wouldn't get the notification? Has that update is that live, or is?
It should be live. They should not get any notification of new calls coming. The only notifications that they should get is if the person doesn't have access. So this is what Jokin is asking about. So for example, if I have Wonder Woman on my team and she's my acquisition manager, I do not give her access to leads while they are in no contact made or contact made. And if a lead calls in and it's answered by, let's say, call porter, so in this case, Wonder Woman will not get notified while the lead is in no contact made or contact made, unless there is there's a task created for her, or if she's tagged in a comment. So you want to make sure that if you have no contact made and contact made disabled for acquisition manager, then you want to make sure like there's no tasks that are being triggered for acquisition manager, for no contact made and contact made. If there is, then she'll get notified. But even if she tried to access that lead, she will not be able to access that lead.
Correct. Yeah, because so I'll give you kind of an example. Let's say a lead comes in from Call Tools via Zapier, and it goes into no contact made. It right away assigns it to the acquisition manager, even though that he can't see it.
Right.
But then the lead manager initiates a call, doesn't get through to the prospect, but then the prospect calls back. We don't necessarily want the acquisition, right? Because it's not a notification.
So the acquisition manager won't see the notification unless it's specifically
tagged.
Tagged or a task created for the acquisition person.
The acquisition manager would only start getting notification once that person is an appointment set.
Right. Correct. Okay. Yeah. So in this case,
Oh no, I was gonna say I'll go ahead and test it out again and play around with it.
Yeah. Let me know. I can have somebody from my support team jump on a call with you and just kind of review how you have your user set up. So if there's any questions on that.
Okay.
Cool.
Thank you.
Awesome. And one other update that's going to be coming out this week is it's related to, so if you are changing, so let's say if I have this lead from my website, web leads, and if I'm going and changing the campaign from website to, let's say, referrals, then it's actually already live in my account. So so what's going to happen now is, so for example, in your website lead source, you have your acquisition manager, you have a disposition manager, you have a lead manager. But when you are changing, so right now what's happening in your account is, so if you change the lead source, what happens is all the tasks that are created right now, they get deleted. So you get a notification that, hey, please note all the tasks are going to be deleted. But with the update that we have coming out, what's going to happen is, so if you try to change a lead source, so let's say if I'm going to change to paper lead, it's going to say, oh, you're trying to change the lead source from web leads to something else. You have some roles. I mean, you have some tasks that are assigned to this current lead. Who do you want to assign the leads to when you change the campaign? So you might have some lead sources. Let's say you might have some roles in website. You have acquisition manager, disposition manager, lead manager. But when you are changing the lead source to paper lead, you might only have acquisition manager. You have no disposition manager. You have no lead manager. So it will ask you, okay, you have some tasks that are assigned to your disposition manager and lead manager, but you don't have the role. Who do you want to assign the task to? You can assign it to acquisition owner, whoever is the role that's going to be in the new new campaign that you're changing it to. So a lot of you guys had asked for this. So this is going to be coming in this week. So again, it's in my test account. We're testing it, making sure it's working as expected. Then it should be coming to you by your test account also. Any questions on this or anything I can answer about this? And Mitchell, you had a question about accounting. Do you want to unmute yourself and go ahead and ask that?
Yes, sir.
Hey, how are you, man?
I'm doing good, boss. Doing good.
Awesome, man.
So my wife's an accountant, and
Okay.
I finally got her involved in my bookkeeping a little bit. And she noticed that when I originally set everything up on like the bank accounts, my business card is linked with my
the credit.
account.
Yeah, the credit card is showing up as in under asset.
Correct. And
Yeah, we're
like,
gonna move it to
be a liability. So
yeah, we're gonna move it to liability. Yeah, by my developers, they moved. I mean, it doesn't change anything with the balance sheet. I mean, it still will match, but yeah, we will get it moved to. I think you already submitted a ticket with our with our support team. So we have that. It's gonna move from your asset into your liability.
okay. So do I need to do anything on this end, or you guys?
No, you don't. You can just keep doing whatever you're doing. It'll just switch over from your asset to liability once we make that update.
Okay.
Okay.
Easy.
Cool. Awesome. Anything else, man?
What's happening?
What was that?
When you guys doing that update, you think?
It should be coming out next week. We have a couple of other things coming out. Next week update is, like, for example, if you're making a payment from your checking account to your credit card, that process is going to be automated. So if you have both of your accounts linked within REsimpli, it will recognize that you paid your credit card from your checking account, and they'll just go ahead and say, this transaction match, can you just confirm this is a credit card payment? Or if you have your checking and savings account, you move money from your checking to savings, if it's a transfer, within your banks. So that, and then the moving it from asset to liability should all be coming out next week.
Awesome, sir. Thank you.
So yeah, but it doesn't affect that. You can just keep doing whatever you're doing. It'll just move from asset to liabilities, and it'll just automatically update the numbers that you have. Cool.
Okay, perfect. Yes, sir.
Awesome. All right. There were a couple of other questions. Max said, late to the in-app conversation, I have several years overseas and currently using Dialpad. Do I no longer need the service? Mac, are you still on the call?
I am, yeah.
Hey, man. Yeah, so we were using RingCentral for a lead manager, so we got rid of it. It depends kind of what your use case is. If you're using a specific number, so if you're using your numbers only for the leads part of it or your buyers, then you're fine, you can get rid of it. But for example, if you're using one of the phone numbers very heavily for like a general business line, so you might have your attorney, you might have your title company calling, you might have your your contractors calling, then you might just want to keep that number. But if you're just using, are you using any of the dial pad number for any marketing, or are you just like they're just used for answering purposes?
Yeah, just for answering purposes.
Oh, okay, yeah, then you don't need that. If they're just like backend numbers where the calls are being forwarded to, then you don't need that.
Awesome. Perfect.
Yeah. So what you
Thank
could do is you
Sharad.
could just switch everything over. It's very easy to switch. You could just create a new call flow call, without dial pad. Just test it out for a week. Just make sure your team gets used to it. So that's what I had my VA do. Last week we switched over from RingCentral to REsimpli in-app. I had her test out, on the web, on the app, make sure everything was working as expected. And then we're like, let's just get rid of, because we were not using the RingCentral number for anything. It's just only for forwarding purposes.
Yep. Okay. Wonderful. Thank you.
Awesome, man. Thanks. All right. Adam has a question. What percentage answered calls are you seeing in cold calling? We're seeing about 7% currently, 70 answered calls over 1,000 calls. So Adam, we're not doing any cold calling right now. We are going to start doing next month. We're rolling out our own dialer. I should be able to give you guys kind of a preview of that next week. It should be loaded in my account tomorrow, I'm guessing. So I should be able to give you that. But when we were doing cold calling 2 or 3 months ago, our connect rate was double digit. I was about 12-ish%. It was about 12, roughly about 12%, that 12 to 15% that we were noticing. I don't know, any of other guys that are doing cold calling, like what are you guys noticing in terms of your connect rate right now? Any thoughts on that? I mean, are you guys noticing double digit or single digit connect rate? One other thing, Adam, I would say is if you're not checking your numbers. So when we go live with our dialer, we are going to be checking all your numbers for spam check. I mean, this is my test account, so we have been tested. So every single number will be checked for spam check. Weekly basis, we will be remediating your numbers every week to make sure, numbers not showing up on spam likely when you're calling people. So that's one thing I would do is make sure your number is not showing up as spam when you're calling. So that would have a big impact on your connect rate, especially if you've been using the same numbers and you had connect rate of, let's say, double digit and you've noticed it go down, there's a very high likelihood that it's because your number is showing up as spam. Any guys that are doing cold calling, have you guys noticed, is your number in line with kind of what Adam has? 7%, roughly like 8% answered calls for every 1,000 calls. So I have 70 calls for every 70 answered calls for every 1,000 calls made. Are you guys noticing numbers in line with that, higher, lower? I'll tell you, when we were calling from, what's the dialer that we were using? Mocho dialer. Our numbers were much, much lower. But then we switched to call tools. They give you 20 numbers, and it had a lot to do with numbers and the quality of your numbers. So you could have 20 numbers, but if they're all showing up as spam, you just naturally are going to have much higher connection rate versus if your numbers are showing up as caller ID or the phone number. So yeah, so I would run your numbers through spam check and then see kind of if they're showing up as spam or not. That would have a huge impact on your connect rate. But to me, on the surface, 7% sounds a little bit lower. I would expect at least a double digit connection. But it could be a different market. We haven't done it for about 2-3 months. So it could be a different market. When we were doing it about 3 months ago or so, it was about 12-15%. All right. Audie has a question. If I remember correctly, if you set the call flow to in-app answer and set it to go to lead manager, it should ring on all lead managers, right? So the way it works is when you have, if I go into my call flow, and if I have it set to acquisition manager, so in your case, it would be lead manager. So what would happen is when the lead comes in initially, if it's the lead coming in for the first time, because there's no acquisition manager or lead manager assigned for that lead, it's going to ring on every single acquisition manager's phone number. So let's say if I'm one of the acquisition manager, and let's say, Audie, you're the other acquisition manager. So what's going to happen is when the new lead comes in, it's going to ring on both of us. And once the lead is assigned, so let's say you become the acquisition manager, then if the lead calls back again, assuming you don't have anything different set on repeat caller, then it's just going to go to you. So when new lead, it goes to everybody that could possibly be an acquisition manager for that campaign. And then once the campaign is assigned to someone, then it just goes to whoever that campaign acquisition manager is for that campaign. Let me know if you have follow-up questions on that. Awesome. And Adam,
that's on the lowest plan, Rashad? Oh, no, that's on that right there you talk about. What plan that's on?
So it's included, the in-app answering is included on enterprise plan. On basic and pro, it's an add-on for $50 a month. It's a $50 per month for all the users. So it's not $50 per month per user. It gives access to everybody on your team.
Okay, so when you get the dollar live, I won't need batch dollar, any of that anymore, or?
So we're going to go live with a single line dialer. So if you're using 3 10-line dialer, we're not going to go live with that yet. We're just going to go live with single line dialer. That's what we've been using. That's what we noticed personally give us the best contact rate, just calling from a single line. So that's what we're going to go live with next month. And then we'll eventually roll out triple line dialer. I don't think we'll ever roll out 10-line dialer. It's like you don't get through many people. I mean, you get through a lot of, you are able to call a lot of people, but you don't actually talk to a lot of people. So not many people use. I think 3-line is more than enough. But we'll go live with single line dialer next month, and then we'll add triple line dialer by the end of the year. But before we do that, we'll also have live call transfer coming out next month. Another cool feature that we are working on is it's called Instant Connect. So if you get a web lead or if you get a text lead, you will immediately be, REsimpli will call your team and then call the lead right away. So you can connect with the lead within a minute of the lead coming into your system. So, but yeah, single line dialer going live next month. So again, I should be able to have a preview for you guys next week on this call. Cool. All right, Adam has another question. Does REsimpli have a built-in spam check now? Yes, Adam, it does. So we check your number every week. So you'll see right here when you go into manage numbers. So every single number that you have, we check it on a weekly basis to see if it's marked as spam. If it is, when you hover on it, it's going to show you either no spam, or it's going to show you, number 1, 2, or 3 or 4. 1, 2, 4. If it's all good, it'll just say, it'll say good in green. If it is being marked by spam, it'll say a number in red. Let's say if it says 1, then you hover on it, it'll say marked by spam as AT&T. So if it is, you do not need to get rid of that number. We will actually remediate for you. So we'll go ahead and get it off the spam. We'll get the spam flag removed for you, so you don't have to, and we do it every single week. So, when we started out, when we rolled this out, we noticed that 60-70% of the phone numbers were showing up as spam. And as of our last testing, less than 5% of the numbers are showing up as spam. So we were able to get big majority of the numbers removed from spam. Matt has a question of what's 10DLC registration. So Matt, 10DLC registration is something different from spam check. And just something to note is 10DLC only affects texting. It doesn't affect your calling, incoming, outgoing. It only affects your outgoing text messages. It hasn't been actually implemented yet by carriers, but it could be any day now. So if you haven't completed your 10DLC registration, please complete it. So what that is, it's basically all the cell phone carriers, AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, Sprint, they're all making individuals or any person that's sending, that has a VoIP phone number that you can buy, online from, CallRail, REsimpli, or any platform. You have to register either yourself if you have less than 5 numbers, or your company, and it's a process that you have to go through. You have to provide your information, your company information, your EIN number, your website, your email, and now we're noticing that. Initially it used to be very easy. As long as you provided some information, they would approve you. But now in some cases, they're asking for copy from IRS showing that you have that EIN number. Again, it's nothing from us, and it's nothing even from our provider. It's all by cell phone carriers, that whatever information they need. So we have absolutely no control on it. But some of the things we're noticing is if you have an email address of, let's say, Gmail, if I use sharad@gmail.com and I'm giving them my website of REsimpli.com, they might flag it saying that the email does not match with the company URL. So we're noticing some of those things also. Again, it's completely out of our hand. We submit all the information as you guys submit it, but it's really, it's something that is required not just with us, but with any other platform that you use to send any text message. So it's required for you to register for 10 DLC. And then in your account, you should be seeing the status of, whether your number is linked, whether it's not linked, all the information. So you want to make sure this is green. If not, contact us at support@REsimpli so we can look into your account. Cool. And Alex, like I said, Nashville market is seeing much longer days on market, more inventory, higher price point are sitting for much longer now. Sub 500s are moving, but anything over that is seeing longer days on market. A lot of people getting priced out cause of rate increase. I would focus on average price point. Negotiating price to a deal, you can offload 70% ARV minus repairs there. That's interesting. Alex, are you still sticking to 70%, or have you started adjusting, maybe go down to like 65% or maybe even 60%, depending on the house that you have? Or you just, sticking with 70%, depending on the price point that you're at?
Yeah, I think here, depending on if you're under this 500s here, 70% is still doable. But
Right.
I mean, of course, right now I'm just shooting for, that 60, 65 for sure. Because it's, I think people are hesitant right now with the market just kind of fluctuating every week. So it makes sense, but people are still buying.
Have you adjusted anything on the ARV on your side? Or, if it was selling for, let's say, 500,000 at the beginning of the year, you're still comping it at 500, or are you adjusting it by like a few percentage point for your ARV?
Yeah, so instead of like comping it at, doing the 70%, like if I see it on Zillow or whatever, comping stuff, I just do 65 instead, and just kind of that 5% margin there to give you some cushion.
Yep, that's kind of what we're doing in our market, just to make sure, we're not looking at numbers that were at the beginning of the year, even like 4 or 5 months ago, are just more or less irrelevant. So we're going based on what's selling in the last month or two, what's on the market right now, if it's getting under contract. So we're looking at very, very recent, like last 30 to 45 days numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would notice. I mean, in our market, it's a little bit like anything over 250 price point, 250, 300 is taking longer to sell. And then you have to be more mindful about the finishes, until like 4, 5, 6 months ago, you could just not have the best product on the market, but just because there was so much demand, you would get an offer, within like the first weekend or first week or so. But now, you have to have a top quality product. The buyers have a lot more options now, to compare your house against versus, few months ago.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. More inventory, more competition, but that's just adjusting with the market right now for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're doing the same thing, and it's a good time for us in our business to kind of grow our list of contractors that we work with. We've just been so reliant on one contractor. Sometimes you just work with one contractor, you just get used to the pricing. But now, as everything is slowing down a little bit for everyone, there's some good opportunities to reach out to different people in the market. If you're doing rehab, we're reaching out to different contractors and saying, hey, would you be we, instead of just getting bid from our main contractor, now we're doing is anything that's a little bit bigger rehab, we're starting to get 3 bids now from our different contractors, just to see if everything matches, everything is in line with kind of what we've been paying, just to make sure that we're not overpaying. Wherever we can save some money, have some more efficiencies in our business, we're trying to do that.
Yep, makes sense.
Yeah, cool. Awesome, guy. Anything else? Anybody else has any other questions that I can answer for you guys?
Hey, Sherrod, this is Jeremy. Are you still actively, and I guess this may attest to what we're seeing. I think for us, we've kind of slowed down on flipping, just because I'm kind of in that gray space. I think where, for me on my side, it's like, it's gotta be a no-brainer. You know what I mean? It's gotta be. At first last year, even this year, we were kind of rolling the dice on some deals just because of the market. So I was like, numbers are a little tight. We'll make it work. Now I'm in a space where, man, it's got to be a gravy train for me to do it. Are you guys kind of seeing the same? I'm also kind of looking at it on the mindset of if I do take down one, it's probably going to be, will this be a rental first, then see if I can flip it, versus where I'm like, oh, we're going to flip it, then we'll see if we can rent it. If we can't, now I'm looking at like, hey, in my mind, I'm already thinking we may have to sit on this on a rental side for a couple of years and then flip it. Are you guys kind of looking the same, or are you still being really aggressive on your flips?
No, we're definitely being conservative with our flips. So for us, ideally a property should check 3 exits for us. We should be able to retail it. We should be able to sell it as a turnkey property to either our own list of buyers or on Roofstock. In the worst case scenario, we should be able to rent it out at a decent cash flow that I can, keep it for myself. So if it meets those 3 criteria, then it's great. And then just by default, just by having that, it basically just any property over 200,000, a single family house over 200,000, it just eliminates that. So it's made our list very hyper focused in terms of kind of what we want to buy. I'm sure we might be like passing out on a deal here or two, here or there, but I'm okay with that, and not having the anxiety of sitting on a property that's not selling. And then, I'm still paying interest on it, or I still have holding costs, opportunity costs.
Yeah.
So for us, just going in with the, at least it has to be able to, we have to have 2 different exits on it. It has to be able to retail on MLS. We have to be able to sell it as a turnkey property. And then, if we're able to sell it as a turnkey property, more likely than not, then I should be able to also keep it as a rental if need comes to that. But so far, we've been able to just like be very focused on that price point. So it's basically, 90% of properties that we're buying have a resale price of 125 to 175. Anything over 175, we really just have 1 exit more or less is of the retail. Then we cannot sell it as a turnkey. I cannot keep it as a rental. So we basically more or less like checking that off our list. And then anything over 200, 250, it should be 2 or 3 units, like a property that we're rehabbing it right now. We should be, initially we thought we should be able to sell it for 225, but we found out another comp in the area that just sold recently. And then we were able to convert it from instead of 2 to 3 unit. That should help our numbers also. So we should be able to sell it for anywhere between 250 to 275. But for a single family house, we're being very, very conservative. I mean, again, that's just my personality. I'm a little bit more conservative guy. I've never been super aggressive, but I'm okay with that. So yeah, that's kind of what we're doing in our market right now.
Are we able to save? Is there a way in REsimpli? My last part is like, when you know how you run your financing, you can do the calculations. Is there a way to save those calculations once you run it on the deal or go back to it? Because I notice I'll do it, but then I can't find it once I, go back on it.
It should stay saved in your account. So once you do it, unless somebody goes and deletes anything, it should stay saved in your account. So you're talking about these numbers right here, correct? The calculator?
Yep.
Yeah, so if I go, let me just put some dummy numbers. So if I do this, I don't have to hit save. If I go back, come back. Yeah, so it stays saved here.
Okay. I don't know. Maybe maybe I'm looking at something wrong, or maybe I'm doing it twice. I'm not sure. Okay.
Yeah. So for us, we're using we're being conservative with that ARV. Like Alex said, and then we're using 70%. If we have a little bit on the fence, then we'll do it 65%, just to make sure we're being adding extra buffer about 5% of the ARV.
Gotcha. Okay.
Cool. Awesome. Any other questions, guys? Anything else I can help you guys with? All right. If I can ask you guys for a favor, it would be really, really great. Is if you guys are getting value from these calls, if you can, I'm going to drop a link in the chat. If you guys, it's basically a Google review. If you guys can go to that link and just leave us a review, you don't have to type a whole long stuff, but if you can just kind of, give us a good rating or, just like honest rating, we'll really appreciate it. Kind of helps us, just be mindful of what we're doing good, what we're not. So yeah, we would really appreciate it if you guys are getting value from this call. Awesome. Yeah, I this week I had originally planned to do a call about, making sure that the prospect that you have in list stacking are not being left behind. But we still have, plenty of questions on in-app answering as people are trying to switch over to in-app answering. Just want to make sure we were able to answer that. So we pushed that call to next week of making sure that all the prospects that you have in list stacking, how you're able to make sure you reach every single one of them. If you I don't personally do RBM or SMS, but we'll still talk about that if you were doing that. What would that look like if you're doing cold calling, direct mail, or if you get something from inbound lead, how you can take it off so you're not marketing to someone that you should not be, that's already a lead. So cool. Any other questions I can answer for you guys? Awesome, guys. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time. And I'll see you guys next week. And hopefully I should have the preview of the a dialer also in my account. So I can give a quick preview. And then if you guys have any questions on that, I will be more than happy to answer that. Awesome. So, okay, all of these meetings should be on our Facebook group. And also, they should also be on help.resimpli.com. Let me share the link right here. Hey, Tazwar, can you make sure, can you just confirm with the support team, Hassan, and the other people in the support team that we're putting these on help.resimpli? I know they're going on, and also on our Facebook, the Wholesale Facebook group. So I am putting this link. So this is where the call is being streamed right now. And that's what we're doing moving forward with every single call. But you should have the last week call there also.
Hey, Sharad, it's Donna.
Hey, Donna.
I have a quick question for you.
Go ahead.
And maybe this is something you guys are working on.
Yeah,
if I'm at my computer, in REsimpli, and I don't have my cell phone close by, right? And I'm looking at the client or a lead in REsimpli, and another lead sends me a text. Is there a way to have like a pop-up that's saying you received the SMS?
On the app?
Yeah. Or, while I'm in REsimpli, if I'm looking at Joe Blow and
got it. Oh, on the website.
So me a text, I don't know because I don't get a pop-up that, hey, you received an SMS from
Susie, like unless you refresh your account, right?
Right.
Okay. Yeah, that's going to be coming in Q4. We're going to have a whole new notification setting where you don't even have to refresh. If you have a new text or call, it just pops up immediately. You can reply. And then if the lead replies back without you refreshing, then you can just reply from the pop-up notification. That's going to be coming in Q4. I'll share a little bit more like next month on kind of what we're working on before we go deeper into it to get feedback on it. But yeah, that's definitely on our roadmap for Q4.
Okay, great.
Cool. Awesome. Any other questions, guys, that I can help you with? Anything with what we talked about, or any other feature, or anything that I'm doing in my business that I can help you with? Awesome, guys. Thank you so much. And I'll see you guys next week. Thanks.